From where we are right now in Bristol, Laura, and the Giants take what will be the first quarterback in the draft. Sorry for the spoiler. It's Cam Ward from Miami, his third stop during his 5-year college career. He was outstanding for the Canes. He led the FBS in passing touchdowns. He's the best innovator of any quarterback in this class. He's got some magic to him as well. He was terrific in big games in the fourth quarter when Miami's defense was not really holding up its end of the bargain. Some questionable decision-making he's got to clean up at the pro level, but this guy has the goods to become a solid starter. Meanwhile, the Browns, whether they have Myles Garrett or not, they're going to have themselves an excellent pass rusher as Abdul Carter from Penn State goes number 2 in this mock. He had 12 sacks last season. He has the best first step of any rusher in this entire class. There's a credible case for him to be the best prospect, regardless of position, in this draft class. And if Cleveland keeps Myles Garrett, all of a sudden they might have the best pass rushing duo in the entire NFL. Finally, the Titans have a huge decision under first-time GM Mike Borgonzi. And where do they go? How about to the most versatile prospect, not just in this year's class, but maybe in like over a decade? Travis Hunter, of course, won the Heisman for Colorado this past season, averaged over 115 snaps per game last year. The fact that he can become an all-pro level player as a wide receiver or a cornerback, too good for me to ignore. Questions about whether he'll be a full-time player on both sides of the ball. I think at the very least he will play some snaps as both a wide receiver and a cornerback.
I can't wait to see what the NFL thinks about him. You're seeing the full mock right there. You can check it out, of course. Mock Draft 3.0. It's on ESPN.com. It's all over ESPN app. It's everywhere. All right, we need someone to keep Field in check today. So
a lot of people.
We dialed up Matt Miller here. Let's stay on the quarterback position with this group. Matt, you just heard Field talking about Cam Ward. How NFL ready is he in your mind?
I don't know that anyone can keep Field in line, but I'll do my best. As far as Cam Ward goes, I think he is the most pro-ready of any quarterback in this draft class. Field mentioned it, a 5-year player, 3 different schools. The great thing about Cam Ward was from Incarnate Ward to Washington State to the University of Miami, he played in different offensive systems. He played with different offensive playmakers. He made every single program better, and his play got better every year. You watch the Washington State tape in 2024, and you think, gosh, this is a day 3 pick. Now we're talking about him being the number 3 overall pick in the entire draft because of some of the developments that he made this past year at Miami. We're going to talk a lot about Elijah Arroyo and Damian Martinez and Xavier Restrepo. Those are the skill players that he had around him at Miami. These guys had breakout seasons because of Cam Ward. This isn't a situation of him going to a team and they already had some weapons. He made this program better. He made the offense better. He has that dynamic ability as a mover. He's got great arm velocity, great arm angles. He reminds me a lot of Jordan Love did coming out of Utah State because there's some things you want to clean up, some mistakes to his game, but man, he has big time potential.
And the Jordan Love comp there gives you a little visual. Field, you have Shedeur Sanders going 6th overall to the Raiders. Just how different of a prospect is he from Ward?
Yeah, very dissimilar. I think some people that aren't familiar with Shedeur Sanders' profile as a prospect are thinking he's Deion Sanders' son. He must be this highly athletic quarterback. No, he's not really that. This is a guy who's at his best operating from the pocket. He's the best pure pocket passer in this year's draft class amongst the quarterbacks. He has a great combination of both accuracy and ball placement. There's touch, there's anticipation. He understands how to make area throws as well. But he also led the FBS in terms of sacks taken last year, which is in large part a reflection of the offensive line at Colorado, but also the fact that this guy is not as much of a second reaction player as some of the quarterbacks that are also in this class, including Cam Ward and guys that were taken early in last year's class, a la Jaden Daniels and Drake May, who found their way out of pressure, maybe more so than their offensive line allowed them to during their rookie seasons.
When I think about Shedeur Sanders' Field, I think of 2 things, surgical and toughness. Because in terms of accuracy, I think he's the most accurate quarterback in this year's class. I mean, his ability to put the ball where it needs to be, no matter what his footwork situation is, no matter what's happening in front of him with an offensive line that was really bad in 2023, got a little bit better in 2024. He's able to put the ball right where it needs to be. And he doesn't have, Josh Allen's arm strength. He doesn't have Lamar Jackson's mobility, but he'll stand in the pocket and he will throw a dart and he'll get punched right in the mouth and he'll get back up and he'll do it over and over again. We saw that so many times over the last 2 years at Colorado, the year before that at Jackson State. His toughness in the pocket, I think, is something that his coaches are going to love, his teammates are going to love. Now, he's maybe got to take a little bit less of it when you've got guys like Myles Garrett coming down the barrel, hitting you in the face mask, but that toughness and that leadership that he brings are crucial qualities. The Raiders have to get their quarterback this year, so if he's there, this is a no-brainer pick.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of him in Vegas, too. I think they would have fun there. Now, listen, We are not just talking quarterbacks when it comes to the draft. This is an incredibly deep draft in the middle rounds, middle range. We're talking a lot more star players outside the quarterback position later with both Field and Matt, so stay tuned for that. And speaking of quarterback-needy teams, this was interesting from Adam Schefter yesterday. The Giants are hiring former Jaguars and Bills wide receiver coach Chad Hall as their assistant quarterbacks coach, per a source. Hall now reunites with his former Bills colleagues, head coach Brian Dable, GM Joe Shane in New York, but Hall is also the brother-in-law of current Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford. So if you're reading tea leaves, there's certainly some that Stafford could be on the move this offseason. Marcus, does that make sense to you, him potentially going to the Giants? I'm going to take that as a no.
Never lost him.
First of all, okay, listen, I get it. Make the correlation or whatever. Why in the hell would Matthew Stafford want to go to New York? That's like going and saying I'm retiring before I actually go home and retire. There is so much that this team needs to do in order to improve. They got off to a good start with Malik Neighbors last year. We think he's going to ascend into a budding wide receiver, but that shouldn't be enough to bring Matthew Stafford on. Matthew Stafford, as we see right here, 37 years old. I'm trying to go somewhere where I can compete. If I'm going to get beat up, if I'm going to take sacks and hits, I'm going to try to go somewhere where I can actually win and win at a high rate. Might I add, whether you happy in Los Angeles or not, you were a playoff team last year. I'm sure that's what be on his mind as he goes forward and try to make this decision. This is not the place for a veteran quarterback right now. They are not set up for Matthew Stafford to just walk in and make them contenders.
A lot of swagoo logic there, which what else is new is a day that ends in Y. But let's imagine why the Rams would even consider trading Matthew Stafford in the first place. He took them to the playoffs last year, played high-level football. It screams to me that a player who no longer has guaranteed money in his contract needs a new deal. And if LA is not willing to meet Matthew's terms, or Matthew doesn't like the terms that LA is offering, then maybe he becomes expendable. So I hear you. On the surface, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But if the Rams aren't going to give you what you want financially, and somebody else might, that might be enough for you to all of a sudden start feeling the love and say to yourself, I'm ready for this new challenge. If the Giants make a compelling multi-year offer that will be part of a potential Matthew Stafford trade, I think it would be difficult for a player who understands he probably only has one more bite at the apple as far as contracts are concerned to turn that down. And if a team is making you feel the love and one team is sort of making you feel like we're ready to move on, you can do some interesting things in potentially the final chapter of your career. For the Giants, though, to me, it's an obvious move. I would be all aboard the idea of trading for Matthew Stafford. He's a major upgrade over obviously what they had last year and better than this draft class for a GM and a head coach that absolutely must win this year to keep their jobs beyond 2025.
One more bite at the apple or bite at the big apple. Go ahead, Swag.
I was right there, too.
Babyface, I hear you. My only question is, let's look historically at over the last 4 years. What aging quarterback went to a place where he didn't think he was going to compete?
Well, you got a lot of money, though,
and
right?
that's, to me, right? But to me, that's the sentiment, right? Like if Matthew Stafford is going to get traded and go anywhere, they're going to pay him a lot of money because it's a quarterback-needed team that may be in a better situation than New York. Brady didn't leave for a team that he didn't think could win. Aaron Rodgers thought they could win a championship. We have kind of proof in this.